This is the UC Hunting Properties Podcast, your home for all things recreational land. Our goal, to help you stand on your investment. Hey guys, welcome back to the UC Hunting Properties Podcast. We're going to take a little different angle today. I got my buddy Shawn Ryan here with Buckland Funding, and we're going to dive into some deep conversation on all things buying a rec farm, and Shawn, hands down, bar none, is one of the experts when it comes to the lending side. So it's somebody you need to know. I'm going to mention it again. I want you to hit that like. I want you to hit the share, the follow, all the things. That's what makes this podcast keep growing and keep expanding and get more listeners to make everyone's business more successful. So without further ado, Shawn Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks so much for having me, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's been a minute, and I've been looking forward to coming up and sitting down with you and having a little bit of a conversation.
Well, I was going to say, we've only been talking about this for probably 6 months or better.
For a while. You know, you can never fit me in. That's the problem.
Oh, is that what it is? That's what it is. No, Shawn and I go way back, and I'm going to have Shawn get into his professional history a little bit here for the listeners. But Shawn's been a buddy of mine for, it's got to be crowding 20 years or something at this point.
I would imagine, if not more. Because Connor's 30 and you were following him back in the day. So I'd push it up there a little bit farther.
Well, it kind of ages us both because
no.
It really did. It started as you were the Hoyt rep, and you pulled into the local archery shop at the time, and I had plates that said Hoyt 'em. And you loved it.
Absolutely.
And one thing led to another, and here we go.
There you go.
So
we are.
Welcome. Glad to have you, Shawn. Take a minute and like I said, give us some background on you, give us some background on Buckland Funding and how this whole thing came about, and then we'll dive into some of these core topics.
Okay, absolutely. Great question, and I hope I don't ramble too much.
You will, because I know you.
I've known to do that a little bit, but a little bit of my history, and it goes so well with the Buckland Funding. So for right out of college, finishing up college, University of Northern Iowa, Cedar Falls. I worked for
Panthers.
Hey, go Panthers. I worked for a archery dealership there, Archery Outfitters in Alabar Plaza in Waterloo. So I had retail background in the archery dealership, and then met a great guy, Laverne Wook, who owned Delta Industries.
Yep.
And I went to work for him for 4 years.
I didn't know that's where it started.
It started there.
All right.
That's how it happened. And I did a little bit of everything for him. I mean, manufacturing, shipping, customer service, marketing, just the whole realm.
I think anybody that's in archery 100% recognizes the name Delta, and now Delta McKenzie.
And it's Delta McKenzie. They ended up buying McKenzie. Yep. Absolutely. So a staple in the industry, always have been, even when they were just Delta Industries. Yep. I was there with their infancy when there was only 3 or 4 of us in the office, and that was it. It was a neat deal. But so that kind of opened up the door to the rep industry. We had rep groups, obviously, that sold all over the United States for us. And I knew that once I started knowing what they were doing and meeting those guys, that's what I wanted to do. That was a goal, and ended up applying for a position in Michigan and moved my family out there, a baby, and had one on the way. And
let's give it hell.
Oh, let's do it, man. Yeah. I jumped both feet, didn't know a soul, not a person. And we had a dealer.
That probably helped you, Shawn, just saying.
It very well could have. But we ended up having a dealer take us under his wing and really helped us along. Brian Schupak out there in Michigan, big dealer. Anyway, the Hoyt position was coming open back in the Midwest. Wow, what an opportunity. So
absolutely.
I ended up moving back, applying for the position, ended up getting it, and then I was the Hoyt rep for basically Nebraska, Iowa, and Illinois.
For a long time.
25 years. 25 years.
Pretty good run.
Beat that pavement.
Yeah.
And in the early years, a little bit of my background there is that I did a lot of shooting. It's when the IBO was still young. I went out east, participated in the IBO. I turned professional finger shooter. shot against the finger guys.
Lyle Oskelson used to kick your ass, didn't he?
I tell you what, he was a tough out. I'm just going to be honest with you. He was a tough out.
I had to give him a little shout out being a local guy.
I love it. But no, traveled all out there, shot some world tournaments, things like that. And then kids got a little bit older. That had to go on the sidelines a little bit.
Well, and then wrestling went in the forefront.
And then wrestling for the boys went in the forefront. But again, was the Hoyt rep and was blessed to be able to have product lines, Hoyt, Easton, True Ball, Delta McKenzie.
Yeah, some of the best in the business.
Oh, the best in the business. Yeah, I mean, I was blessed in that way, and I loved it. And 25 years, on the road kind of wears on a fella. And Hoyt and I parted ways, and got a call from a good buddy of mine. He was actually the PSC rep.
Sure.
And, it great camaraderie between the two of us. It shows each other. And,
absolutely.
And things like that. But he had applied for a position with First Bankers Trust, Buckland Funding, and he wasn't able to do it. Family, they were moving, things like that.
Sure.
And said, hey, give him a call. I think you'd be really good at this. And I was really curious about what it was. And so I called down and, yes, interviewed 3 times, I think. And I've been there just about, 3.5 years.
God, time goes fast.
Oh, it's so fast, so fast. So
now you completely glazed over the fact that you won a state championship wrestling in Iowa.
I won a couple freestyle titles, a couple Greco titles, was a high school All-American in Greco. The best I did in folk style was second as a junior, and then my senior year got hurt in districts. And
okay, in
wrestle.
my mind, you were a state champ. But it doesn't lower your status in my mind.
Well, that's
Shawn,
because when I whooped you that one time. No.
Well, then you woke up. That's the funny part. No, and same thing. I'm going to give a shout out to both of Shawn's boys. He's got 2 stallion kids, both of which wrestled or had a stint at the University of Iowa. Very, very, very credentialed wrestlers coming out of high school.
Thank you. They worked extremely hard. I'm very proud of both of them, and they were very extremely dedicated and accomplished not their highest goal, but quite a few goals.
Right.
So,
well, and Logan was a multi-time. Was he a 2 or 3 time?
He was a
2-timer, and what Connor was like a 2 or 3 time runner-up.
4.
Oh my God! Is that like a record in the state?
He was the only one to have it for quite a while.
Sure.
And now there's been a couple others that have been 4-time runner-up.
Wow.
So and he the ones he lost to in the finals were pretty. All three of those that he lost against all went Division I also.
Wow.
Wrestling. So,
Clearly, yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Anyway, we could talk wrestling
Lord,
day long.
all day.
So here's what I'm hoping we get out of the podcast and the listeners get out of the podcast today. So, Shawn, you're an expert in a sense with Buckland Funding being truly you guys cater to the niche market that we, we're part of it. We're UC Hunting Properties, right?
Exactly.
So the bulk of our listeners are agents that are part of our UC Hunting Properties network. So I want them to hear it. But, Shawn, walk us through number one, where Buckland Funding's doing business. I mean, I know you guys are, I call them the deer states. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about that first. And then what I want to dive into is if somebody's a new buyer, and I don't care if that's the listener and they fit that mold of a new buyer, new land buyer, mm-hmm. first-time land buyer, whatever, or if it's an agent listening that's working with a client in a similar position, right? They're a first time. Like,
sure.
What are they going to go through? That's what I kind of want to squeeze out of this, and then we'll start spinning this a little bit to how you guys catered to that market because, again, it's a niche thing.
Right.
So I'll let you take it from there, Shawn, because I don't know
Okay.
that a lot of people truly understand just the standard process. If you're going to go buy some land, where do you start? You know, do you got some tips to share with us? I'm going to let you run with it.
Boy, do I have tips.
Wow. It already went there. Shocker.
Shocker. So just a brief history on Buckland Funding, kind of a little bit about how they were formed, which is extremely interesting, to be honest with you. First Bankers Trust is a bank out of Illinois, based out of Quincy, Illinois. They were formed in 1946. They have 11 branches in Illinois, and there were about 5 years ago, there's 4 or 5 gentlemen on the board, and they all own hunting properties, and they all hunt.
Yep.
Well, as you know about this what do you want to say, 10, 12 years ago, all this property started being sold by different agencies. Okay. I mean, it was unheard of. I mean, back when we were, it was unheard of. Well, now you've got how many agencies just covering Iowa or Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, anywhere.
For sure.
It's unbelievable. Well, they kind of saw that starting to happen, and they said, well, a lot of banks don't like lending on hunting and rec ground, and that's solid hunting and rec ground because there's little to no return. There's some risk on it.
Yep.
But they said, hey, let's make a division and let's cater to those people. Let's specialize in that.
Shawn, as a standard practice, and I guess I don't want to oversimplify it, but I mean, most land values have always been predicated around, a true tillable piece.
Yes.
And the return it creates. So I think it's important to kind of bring that up because any banker in the world would want to give you money if you could afford, to go out and buy 90 CSR ground.
Right. Absolutely.
Because there's a ton of return.
Absolutely. And, on timber, hard rec ground, there's hardly, you can, log the trees, something like that. And I'll get into some of the different types of properties that we would like to have, that we like to lend on. But again, we cater to the hunter, the recreational hunting ground. That is what we specialize in. Can have a primary home on it. If it has a house or a cabin, that's a secondary home, a hunting lodge, that's no problem. We can do that.
Sure.
Okay. Yes, and to answer your questions, I get that all the time. Hey, I'm looking at 60 acres, 20 of it's tillable. Great. We'd love to see a return too.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And obviously, it's going to make that property a little bit higher. On the price wise. So to go back to and to get started.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. Just a little bit about the Buckland Funding. So I've been with Buckland Funding for about 3.5 years now. We're really growing our footprint, our branding, getting it out there, because the problem was back then they had a great idea. Okay, let's specialize in it. Let's have Buckland Funding.
Yep.
And you've got the brokers and agents out there that are selling the property. They've got their clients and selling, looking for 20s, 120s, what have you. There was no connection between Buckland Funding and the client or the brokers and agents.
Yeah,
So
I get what you're saying.
So that is what I do. So I'm not a banker. I'm a relationship manager.
Yep.
So what I do is I'm the liaison between you and your client and the bank, Buckland Funding. So I'm the first touch to your client. I find out a little bit about them, a little bit about the farm, who's the broker on it,
Yep.
yada, yada. And then I tell them about our product, a little about me, with my hunting background, because 99.9% of the time when I get a call, it's somebody that's super excited.
Sure.
They're going to buy their first 20, their first 60, their first 100, and they're a hunter.
Yeah.
And we get into, oh, yeah, well, what kind of bow you shoot? Oh, really? Have you gone out west? Oh, really? Oh,
I can only
awesome.
imagine how much time you spend on the phone having them conversations.
Oh, it's awesome.
Right.
Oh, so that is what I do between the agents, their clients, and Buckland Funding.
So truly, you're a liaison between the lending institute and say the real estate company.
Yes.
And or real estate client. Let me put it that way. I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I do, and that's what we do as far as the Buckland Funding goes. Again, we specialize in the hunting and rec ground.
Right.
And then, do you want me to go into a little bit about
where are you guys primarily doing business, Shawn? Let's start there. I mean, Obviously you're out of Illinois. You're an Iowa resident. I know you've done stuff in Missouri. I know you've done stuff, I believe, up in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. How far if somebody's listening, how far out can they be to say, hey, I want to call Shawn and try to get this thing teed up?
Great question. Great question. And we kind of started, like you said, those solid deer states, Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri. And that's kind of the focus that we did have. And now it's growing, and our footprint, like I said, is getting bigger and bigger. We can actually do a loan anywhere in the U.S. If it makes sense for us, it makes sense for the buyer, the land is right, we can do it wherever. And we have. We've started to grow outside of those 3 original states.
Yep.
So it's really starting to kick off.
Well, and I think and same thing, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not a real estate broker, but I'm around it enough to know that all the good agents and all the good brokers have a relationship with, I would even go as far as saying typically multiple lenders, right, to help their buyers through it, right? Like to be that guiding light or whatever. Hypothetically, you should be one of them, especially if it fits the right mold.
Right. And I think you said it, the key word is the good. The good and great brokers and agents that are out there.
Well, there's a difference.
They're going to supply you with 2 to 3 banks and relationships, and absolutely. And that's what I tell the brokers and agents. I don't have to be the only one or what have you, but throw me in the game. Mm-hmm. Let me talk to your client. Let me show them and let them know what I can do for them.
Let me help.
Let me help you. Take the burden off you. Take the burden off your client. Make it simple, smooth, and easy. That pre-approval process, that's what we specialize in.
Okay.
And once we were able to talk to them and be able to do loans for certain people, it's been extremely successful.
Walk us through a scenario, Shawn, and I don't care if it's a real world one or if we're making one up, but from like a standard process, if somebody's looking to buy land, go.
Okay. Looking to buy land.
I guess, and I'm going to add to this. And you can gather your thoughts on this. Private deal versus public deal, right? Something that's on market versus something that maybe is private. Does that change anything about how Buckland Funding looks at it?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So, hey, my neighbor's selling 40 acres. I need a loan.
Right.
Something like that compared to if I get a call from a broker, hey, I've got a guy that's going to buy 40 acres. Not really. It doesn't really. But the agent and the broker can help them so much through that process. Really can help them.
Well, and obviously we strongly recommend, even having a buyer's agent represent you because they have your best, they're working for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I strongly agree with that. That's one of the first things I tell people is that in the list, the line is number 1, get pre-approved. Okay. Simple, smooth, and easy. I'm telling you. Can I go into that just a little bit?
I dive in.
So give me a call at Buckland Funding. We'll talk hunting. And then I'm going to tell you about our products, what we can do for you. We can pre-approve you in the same business day. We get the information back. Simple plug and play. I call it a plug and play. We send you the application, what you owe, what you own. We find out your net value, your DTI, your debt to income ratio. Yep. We can take a look at that from there. If you're not computer savvy, you can't fill it out on computer, no problem. We can mail you the 2-page application.
Yep.
And then we ask for 2 years tax returns, and that's it. And again, once we have that information back, your pre-approval, you will know something on that the same business day or the next business day.
That's pretty quick turnaround.
Real quick turnaround. The same thing with closing. If there's a deal, you're buying $500,000, okay, in property. If it's $500,000 or less, we can actually do a tabletop appraisal. 10 times faster, save you about $1,000.
Sure.
Okay, we can do that in-house.
So now walk us through that, Shawn. Is that unique to you guys? I mean, when you say a tabletop appraisal, I mean,
we do it in-house.
Okay.
Yep, we can take a look at the property, whether it's on
So, I mean, obviously you're playing into location. You're looking at it airily to understand what's there.
Yes, everything.
Yeah.
What's on it? Is there water on it? Is there electricity run to it? The different things that are on there, the improvements.
Yeah.
What's on there. We take that all of that into consideration.
Sure.
Okay. But get pre-approved first, and I always tell them and ask them, are you working with a broker? No, then would you like some referrals?
Yep.
And with my brokers that I know, I send them a few names, just like bank, they send the banker.
Yep.
So send them a few names. These guys are good in this particular area. Let them know. Let them know what you're looking for. Again, it goes back. Do you want a pond for the kids to swim in? Do you want a creek? Do you want to be close to a river? What about how far off of a paved road? What about electricity to it? What about a little cabin on it? And you can tell that broker, that agent, all that information. And what they're going to do is they're going to not just sit there and wait for it to come into them. They're going to search with all of what they have and who they know.
Yep.
So it might not be your exact Decorah, Iowa, where it is, where they found it. It might be a county away.
Sure.
But hey, if it's your dream property,
Go get it.
Go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you kind of teed it up that way because, like I said, it does. I think a lot of people think it's overwhelming. Like the process, and I don't want to oversimplify it, Shawn. But I mean, you kind of said it that way, right? Like, where are you sitting? Where's your market position? Is how I would put it. And if you're pre-approved and you get to go shopping,
Yes.
whether you're shopping by yourself or whether you're using an agent or a broker that you refer or somebody they know locally, all the better, right?
Oh.
The pieces of the pie are halfway there.
Absolutely. Every broker and agent I talk to, they want that their client pre-approved.
Sure.
They know, number one, now how big a farm we can look at. If somebody's pre-approved for 200,000, you're not going to show them a 1,000-acre farm,
Right.
So that pre-approval tells them a lot of things. And then the other thing it does is it tells the farmer, the landowner, you're interested too.
Right.
So I mean, it's a pocket ace. Hey, I'm serious. Let's look for the right farm.
Yep.
Yes.
No, I like that, and I think so. I mean, your recommendation to anybody would be, if you're in the market, let's get your pre-approval out of the way as step one.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we can kind of do that as far as, I don't know how big a property I want to buy. And one of our products, we require 25% down. And again, that's not black and white, but that's in our sandbox.
Call it a
25.
standard. Yep.
You want 20? Well, let's talk about that. Okay, we may do a tick up on your interest rate, an 8 maybe or something like that, but we'll work with you if that's a hot spot for you.
Sure.
Okay. But the math, what we can do for your pre-approval is we can take a look at your application and say, okay, you've got this much in savings, this much in your checking, you've got this much equity in your home. So this is the amount that we would recommend you able to put 25% down. Okay. So we can get that number, and then wherever the counties are, because obviously northern Missouri or southern Missouri is different than southern Iowa or northern Iowa.
Yep.
The prices are different. So wherever you're looking, we can curtail that and get you into that particular acreage. And so now you can let your broker know, hey, I'm going to be pre-approved for 80 acres and under.
Yep.
Makes sense?
Well, and you're not wasting anyone's time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the deal. Yes.
I mean, there's no point in chasing the goose if you can't put it down.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's fun to look. Don't get me wrong, but no, I'm glad we kind of took a second to talk about that. Now, on that note, Shawn, and in my mind, I'm thinking standard process because anyone can walk into any bank in the world and ask for money, of course, but give us, I guess, from your perspective, what's the advantage to doing business with Buckland Funding? You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Versus their, I don't want to say rum-dum banker, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely. So obviously, different banks have different, advantages, disadvantages, things like that. One thing that Buckland Funding doesn't offer, unfortunately, is a long 30-year fixed rate. We have a 5-year balloon on a 25-year amortization. So the loan's over 25 years, but it's a 5-year balloon. We get you the best possible rate first 5 years. After that 5 years is up, we sit down with you. You can resell or refinance the loan. You can do it back with us, and then it's over a 20-year period.
Sure.
And then eventually, just as you pay that principal off, your payment's going to start getting lower, just like if you're buying a car.
Yep.
Okay? It's the same exact thing. One thing that our customers really like is that quick pre-approval. The other thing that they really, really like is that we don't sell your loan off.
So you keep it in-house.
We keep it in-house, and that's extremely important. So two things here. I'm going to talk about two things. So once they talk with me and I get all their information, I give them all of our product. I ask them their hot points, things like that. We talk. We have a good relationship being built. I compile an email and I send it to our lead loan officer, Megan Cheek, who's amazing.
Sure.
I mean, amazing.
Well, she deals with you, Shawn. I give her a lot of credit already.
Ooh, I tell you, they give her a raise about every month. No.
Well, they should probably.
No, she is seriously amazing. And what she'll do is that same day, as long as she's got time, she'll send out our SageWork application, the plug and play, put in what you own, and then a secure Mimecast file for your last 2 years' tax returns. And again, once you send those back to her, she'll have news on your pre-approval that day or next business day. She also sends out an email letter, a personal letter, with all of her contact information. Sure. Those are the only two people you will deal with.
Is you and Megan.
Megan and I. If you have a question that day, the next night, 3 years from the loan, and you call one of us up, we're going to remember you because we've got your loan in house.
Sure.
We've got a monster team behind us. First Bankers Trust, over 180 employees, monster team behind us, but we're not going to send you down the road. Oh, just a minute, I don't take care of that. Oh, hold on, let me find Joe or what have you. You know, you've dealt with credit card companies, anything when they're just sending you down the road and you're on hold, that's not going to happen.
Just the opposite.
And people love that. You can get a hold of us.
Yeah.
We can answer your questions immediately, and it's a neat deal for us.
So it's a very personalized experience doing business with you guys.
Touches. We call them touches. Just to give you an example, a gentleman called me last Sunday. There's a auction in Missouri going on Wednesday. He needed to be pre-approved. Mm-hmm. He needed that letter. So on Monday, called him, I sent the application, Megan did, with the letter. He sent it back late Monday night. She approved him this morning. Got him the letter before noon today.
Because today was the auction.
Tomorrow's the auction.
Gotcha.
Tomorrow's the auction. Got it to him before noon, and he called me on a Sunday. And I texted him, hey, Megan's got your letter. It's on its way. And he texted me back, thanks. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. And he was so excited,
Sure.
So good for I got
hopefully his bubble doesn't get burst at the auction if it goes past his pre-approval. But you don't know if you don't have your toes in the water.
You don't know. And he had a certain amount of limit that he wanted to go up to. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we pre-approved him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, game on.
I
hope he gets it.
I do too.
Good luck buyer.
Yeah, he's a super good guy.
Shawn, talk to me a little bit about, in your experience, tips for new buyers. Obviously we went through, hey, get pre-approved, but beyond that, is there anything else tribal knowledge-wise you'd share with the listeners on, I call them best practices, but I'm kind of saying tips for new buyers too. You've been through enough deals. I'm just curious.
Work with a qualified broker or an agent Seriously, it'll make your life so much easier, so much smoother.
Well, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yep.
That's just like us. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. Hunting and rec ground. That's what they do.
Yep.
Hunting and rec ground. So, number one, obviously, and let them know your spending limit, what you're pre-approved for, what you want on the property. Those are the main things.
And then let them work for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Go find that property. And again, let them know, and we talked a little bit here before the show, about tillable, about CRP, about income.
Timber value.
What's walk the timber? What, is there, get a forester in there. Smart buyers will do that. Hey, they'll get permission from the landowner, obviously. Can I have a forester walk that and have them give you an estimate of the timber value in there? That's a monster deal. And like you said, maybe, it's still a younger growth, but in 10 years, there's going to be, $300,000 worth of walnuts or cherries in there.
Or how about every 10 years you could strip 50,000 out and it all plays into a management plan, right?
Boom.
And I think people confuse that. They go, "Oh, I'm going to get to cut lumber once in my life," and I'm like, to a degree, you might be right, but done properly, I would argue that's renewable, right? I mean, corn gets planted every year, and voila, they pick it every fall. Well, trees are the same. It's just a longer life cycle.
Correct. Absolutely. And I mean, they're right. You can make a lot of money from trees.
You ain't a kidding.
And you don't have to harvest the whole thing. You don't have to clear cut it like you said.
Right.
Do it manageable. And boy, does that help.
Well, it seems like a lot of times, just with developing a farm, you want different stages of regeneration going on in your timber. So, to your point, I don't care if we're talking about 50 acres or 500 acres. You can do it in stages to make it make sense.
Right.
And if part of that's the financial aspect, well, you time it out that way.
Exactly.
So
section that farm out. Exactly what you're talking about. Section that farm out and take, harvest some from this particular area. That undergrowth is going to flourish.
You got it.
It's just, work that farm.
Well, you're creating habitat and hypothetically increasing the value of your farm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything increases it.
Right. Now, that from that perspective, Shawn, do you guys have any, I guess price aside, but where I'm going with this is a blank slate farm, right? Something that's not developed at all. Mm-hmm. Maybe the old boy that owns it, he'd call it a cattle farm. You and I'd look at it and go, oh, my gosh, like that's a hunting paradise.
Sure.
But it's not developed yet, compared to one that, guys use the term turnkey.
Right.
And it's set up, it's got the food plots, it's got the blinds, the whole deal. Is any of that taken into consideration from a lending perspective with how you guys analyze a piece of ground for the value?
For the value, no. We know, and obviously we get a lot of those when we take a look at the pictures, and sure enough, there's your muddy or your banks or what have you, and then you look at the description, and there's going to be 6 of those left, and food plots and things like that. It doesn't really affect the lending side. It really doesn't. But, the buyer side, obviously,
right,
tremendously it does.
Yeah, if there's $30,000 worth of stuff there,
right,
turnkey.
Exactly.
Turnkey.
I
was just curious because, I've seen it time and time again where, some of the investors we've worked with, and I hate to say flipping farmers, but really they're kind of experts on it, right?
Oh, yeah.
They take a blank slate, they spruce it up, they get some deer history, and voila, they're making $2,000 an acre.
Absolutely. And then there's an industry that has started to pop up like crazy too. There's people you can hire to come in and they'll brush it out, like you said. They'll mow paths, they'll make ponds, water holes, what have you. Even go as far as, hey, you need to put a tree stand here, I could put it there for you if you'd like me to.
Right.
You could put a banks blind here, a muddy or what have you there. I could put it there if you want me to.
Right.
And that's
well, and that's something else. I think, especially a new buyer. Like everyone in their minds wants to get their hands dirty and do some of that work, but the reality is, there are times when you're better off paying somebody that knows how to do the work. You stay at work and make your money.
Agreed.
Right.
Absolutely. It can be a smart. You can go in and have them explain it to you, for further farms or future farms for you.
Yep.
And, that's kind of another thing, too, just to back up just a little bit is we've talked, everybody wants that 80, 80. Well, you might not be able to afford that 80.
Yet.
Let's start with your 20 or your 40. Do exactly what we've been talking about. Build that up. Tip a nice buck over or two, what have you. Document it.
Shoot some turkeys.
Boom. Shoot some turkeys. Just, yes, live life on it.
Build a story.
Enjoy it. And pretty soon, guess what? You're going to sell that. You're going to buy that at 80.
You're going to be able to.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the thing, I think, too, is I don't think a lot of people do understand that it can happen quick.
Yes, it can.
I mean, if you can get a farm at market, or let's even say maybe slightly below market, and then you do whether you pay somebody to enhance it or, improve it, or you're doing it yourself or some mix.
Right.
When that next opportunity comes up, like, can you turn and burn?
Yep.
And,
absolutely.
And obviously, you guys are all about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Yes. And that's one thing that's so neat, and I wanted to touch on that is, and we've done it multiple times, is boom, guess what? Hey, I'm going to sell that 40 and I'm going to be looking to buy an 80.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, we know who it is.
Sure.
They know us. We've already had their financials. We've already talked with them. So we've already built that relationship, and it's so easy then.
The
just to be
rodeo
able
is
to
even
get them
easier.
going. Oh,
yeah.
it's so much easier.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I bet that's kind of fun, too, to watch, different clients kind of evolve through it, because I don't think most people look at land and go, oh, I'm going to be an investment land guy.
Right.
And a lot of people turn into that because of, an opportunity that's put in front of them.
Correct.
So,
yes.
I guess it is what it is, right?
Uh-huh.
Shawn, give me some scope and scale around what you're doing. I mean, if you had to put, if I just straight up asked you, what's an average deal look like for you? Because I want to frame this up. I mean, you kind of hit the bottom end, that you're looking for 10-plus acres.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to say, and you can do this by cost or by acres, but, I mean, average size deal you're working on.
The average size, probably a range would be that 40 to 80.
40 to 80.
40
common.
to 80. Yep, pretty common. So 60 would probably be,
in a nutshell.
yep, in a nutshell, 60 acres. And we've done, like I said, 12 acres. Below the 10, and we talked about this just a little bit. Normally that, you're going to put a house on it or something like that. So it's not, used for rec or hunting.
Right.
So that's kind of out of our sandbox. But we do have a division at First Bankers Trust I can help people do that with. And the same thing is we've got one right now also. I just talked with a gentleman. He's buying, I believe it was 60 acres, 40 of it's tillable, 20 of it's hunting, but there's a real nice, $500,000 house on it. Okay, great. I can't do that with Buckland Funding, but we have a division for that.
Yep.
So I can
You
help
still
people.
help them, right?
Yes, and so I'm helping the people that call, and then we can go, as high as you need. We've done a $8 million plus loan.
Wow.
Also Kansas.
Weird.
Wow.
We just had one in Kansas that was a $9.85 million deal.
Wow.
It was a monster.
Oh,
Yeah.
those are big. That's a lot of property.
Well, that one in particular was like 3,300 acres. Hell, it had a lake. It had a big fancy house on it. But, I mean, it was a straight rec farm.
Sure.
I guess it did have some tillable.
I love it.
But it was literally just income producing.
Sure.
It wasn't. But no, okay, so soup to nuts, really, it doesn't matter if it's 15
Nope.
acres or 1,500.
Nope.
You guys can handle it.
We can do it.
Right on.
Absolutely.
Let's. I'm gonna shift gears, I guess, to a degree, Shawn, because I just want to tap into your industry knowledge and what you're seeing in the marketplace. I think everybody, especially in real estate and lending, because they go hand in hand. The COVID boom obviously changed the landscape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hottest market maybe ever. And it might be the hottest we'll ever see.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on the market, where we're at? Like, maybe you could throw a prediction out. I mean, where do you see things going, Shawn?
Sure. So my first Iowa Deer Classic that I worked with Buckland Funding, we had a show special for $275.
Wow.
Wow.
Bring her back.
Right?
Yeah.
Free money, baby.
Close.
Oh, and I still have people remind me of that. You still got any more of that 275 money?
I'll take a bunch.
That free money. So, obviously, everybody knows The interest rates on everything has gone through the roof. Food, I mean, gas. I mean, everybody knows that. Trucks, trying to buy a truck now is crazy.
Pain in the ass.
Everything. There is, after working these shows this year, the Iowa Deer Classic, Illinois Deer Classic, I did a cancer fund awareness fundraiser. The consumer confidence is up. Not through the roof, but it's up from where it was, say, a year ago.
Sure.
Because the rates really haven't gone up for a year.
They've kind of leveled off.
They've leveled off a little bit. They've ticked down a little bit. Now, don't know what's out there. I mean, some people say it's going to tick down again because of the election. Some people say it's going to tick up in September. So, I don't have that magic.
Who does?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just glad it's not going up. People are getting more used to it.
Well, and I think I just seen something. One of our guys posted, and these were facts, right? But it showed a snapshot like in the last 50 years, the average of that 10-year window or that decade or whatever. And I think right now we're about hovering at around, give or take, the 50-year average. So it's not. I mean, it feels high to us because we got to live through the 275, 299, 325. But, yeah, I mean, the reality is, even at 7-8%, we're not out, like, in left field.
No. My first house that my wife and I bought, it was over 14%.
Yeah.
You're just paying on the interest. You're not even touching, the
For
principal.
the first, 10 years.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people don't remember that because, I'm 81, so – but
you look great for 81.
Thanks, man. But a lot of people haven't lived through that,
right.
And they think 8 is 16, but it's not. So, and it's again leveled off a little bit. Our inquiries.
Well, really, time flies, right? But even 40 years ago, there were notes out there for 17, 18, 20%.
Yes, there was.
Yes, and somehow, some way, people weathered that storm.
Yes. And it was ugly.
It is ugly.
But it got weathered.
Yeah.
And, my advice, if there was one thing, and I tell people at the Classics when I see them, consumers face-to-face, or I talk to them on the phone, if you find a 40 and you're able to afford it and you're going to be okay, don't hem-haw because that property is going to be gone in a week. Buy it. And if it's 8% and you're like, oh, man, that's just horrible at 8%, buy it. See what happens. You can always refinance.
Yep.
But if it's your dream property with that pond, with that creek, whatever, buy it. You will not regret it. You won't.
Well, I think we can say that kind of universally because, stuff does not sit on the market.
It doesn't.
Yeah. It seems like it's shaking and baking.
Right. Exactly.
So get in while the getting's good.
Exactly.
Now, on that, you brought something up, Shawn. How much of if you have a client that buys a place and fast forward 3 years, they're in the middle of the 5-year balloon you guys put together, or ARM, or whatever you call it. And interest is down, I'm making this up, 2%.
Sure.
And they want to come right back through Buckland and refi it. Is that in your wheelhouse?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And they can refinance if year 3. They don't have to wait till year 5 when the balloon is there.
Yep.
They don't have to. If it's down 2 points in 3 years, I'll call them myself and tell them to refinance.
Yeah.
And there's a small fee, obviously, for refinancing. But it's... Yeah, the money you're going to save is
kind of a no-brainer. Right?
No-brainer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because I didn't know if I didn't want to say they're married to that 5-year, but clearly if they can refinance, and to your point, go get it. If you find what you want, go get it.
Yes, absolutely. And, you can sell the farm off, refinance, anything in those 5 years. You're not locked in for the,
right.
Obviously.
One, I think for the history, I can sit here and go, damn it, I wish I was buying land 20 years ago, right?
Right.
But at the time, it seemed expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? She keeps ticking up.
She does.
So I'm going to back Shawn on that. If it's something you want and you can stroke the check or afford the payment, dive in.
Do it.
Head first.
Yep. You're not gonna regret it.
But use a good broker or agent to help guide you through the process so you don't take a head cave in.
100%.
Yeah.
And they're always there too. Just like Megan and I will always be there to answer those banking questions, and we're not going to put you down to somebody else. You're always there. That broker agent is always there to be able to ask questions about properties. Hey, I'm thinking about moving to another 80. Do you have any in your pocket? Do you have any listings of an 80? Things like that.
Get the wheels spinning.
Exactly.
Well, and not that I want to get into a 1031 exchange conversation today, but then that game plays big time.
Yes, it does. There's not a lot of those out there, but that is an option.
Well, if you're selling land to buy more or buying land,
so
and
you
then
don't have to
sell, you can
do the taxes.
You got it. Defer the capital gains.
Exactly,
which is 30%, dude.
Right. But you
a
better
ton
be
of
able
money.
to sell that property.
Well, that's the goal. I mean, and that's why they put a time limit on it.
Right. And there's a time limit. So,
but that's why they work with a guy like you, Shawn, because you got the connections.
Oh, okay.
People know people.
That's right.
It's all connected.
It's all about who you know, brother.
It is all about who you know. All right, Shawn, I think we wasted enough of your time today. But, hey, man, leave us with a nugget. I know you've kind of gave some advice, you gave some tips, but if there was one thing you wanted a listener to take away from Shawn Ryan, Buckland Funding, what is it? Give me a nugget.
Buy low, sell high. Kidding.
Well, no shit.
Well, no. So, if you want an extremely smooth, painless, seamless approval process, that's what Buckland Funding does. That's what we do.
And they're not going to have to explain what you're doing or
No.
what they're doing.
No.
You're buying a rec farm.
We know. We specialize in it. That's it. Give me a call.
Yeah.
Can I give my number?
Absolutely.
So there's a number. If you Google, and I would express, please Google Facebook for Buckland Funding. Go in, look at our reviews.
Go follow these guys.
And go follow us. Give us a follow, but look at the reviews of what people say about us, and then make your decision if you want to call us.
Now, Shawn, are they skimming those and getting rid of your negative ones and only putting Megan's good ones up?
No,
Because that's what I would envision happening.
well, that's what they wanted to do, but we haven't figured out how to do it. No. So, but I would ask for people, potential clients, to do that and just take a look, because it's all about the service, how easy and smooth it was, and that's it. That's
the world we live in, man.
Yeah.
Everyone wants smooth, easy, seamless, right?
It has to be, because it just seems like everything's tougher. Everything, people are just not happy with each other.
Right.
Yeah, they're mean to each other, I'll guarantee you we won't be mean.
No. Shawn's gentle. Just a big teddy bear.
There you go.
Yeah.
I give out free hugs.
I literally just called Shawn Ryan soft on a podcast that's going to go, you're soft. No.
Easy. These cameras got to shut off sometime.
Oh, I love it. Well, Shawn, we appreciate your time. Obviously, yeah, we'll put your phone number and email, and people can reach out if they want to talk to you, Shawn. I mean, give you a holler. Probably the best way to communicate.
So I apologize there. I got off track again.
No, you're fine.
It's a little easy to do.
Yeah,
with you.
Yeah.
Weird. Huh? So my personal cell number, and call weekends anytime, 610-909-9073. I call you back. It's going to come up as a PA number. I live in Davenport, Iowa.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
And don't
that
worry if that number happens to be in the bathroom stall, because these guy's kind of famous. It's all over the place. But yeah, don't worry about that.
But that's it. Shawn.Ryan@bucklandfunding.com. You can also reach me there, and
Just like it sounds.
let's talk. Let's talk hunting.
And
Let's
really,
talk
that
land.
goes agent, broker, or consumer.
Yes.
Top to bottom, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Right on. Well, Shawn,
thank you.
thanks, buddy.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really, really appreciate it, buddy.
Betcha. Take care, dude.
Heck yeah.